All right, we are live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook. Happy to have you with us. Currently, we have 0 viewers. Oh my gosh. But we'll be recording this and posting it later. So that's all good. Today, we're going to be talking about my favorite Shopify theme, Turbo by Out of the Sandbox. We'll be asking Sean Campbell from Out of the Sandbox questions about it live. We will be looking at some examples of the site using it. I hope a few of mine made it in. Some overlooked features. Drives me crazy how often I look at stores running Turbo. I'm like, you haven't even scratched the surface of the stuff it could do. And best practices for customizing themes. Because one of the coolest parts about having an Out of the Sandbox theme is the app updater, which is fabulous. But the more customizations you add, the harder you make it to update. We're actually, my partner, well, let's see if we can see him hiding over there, is over there. There he is, doing a theme update right now for Harney, harney.com, purveyors of fine, delicious teas. Okay, let's see. Ooh, we're up to 7 viewers going. Fabulous. And let's see. Can I see comments, questions, etc.? Yes, I can. Hello, Andre. Very good. Joining me then is one Sean Campbell. Let's split screen here. Mr. Sean, you are now up live in the Facebook Live split screen. Very cool. All right. You're at Out of the Sandbox. What do you do there?
Sure thing. My title at Out of the Sandbox is a project manager. So I'd like to think that I've got a team of fantastically talented people. None of the things I'm actually able to do, but I can at least watch them do it. Hopefully keep them on time too, and enjoy all the various features and successes that we see coming out of our hard work. So that's what I do here at Out of the Sandbox. And I take part in Ask Me Anything interviews as well, apparently.
How'd you find yourself working at Out of the Sandbox as a PM?
Sure. Well, that's a long story that I'll try to get through real quick, but I started out doing support requests for Out of the Sandbox when they were a fairly small company. The support was being outsourced to an agency that was also growing at the time, a Shopify agency, Pointer Creative, as it was known at the time.
Pointer, Chris Pointer, yeah, good friend.
You got it. Yeah, I was actually just over to talk to him this afternoon. From there, liked how I was getting support requests. Can you answer our clients the same way? And that turned into a PM job over at Pointer. But as time went on, I continued to create video documentation for the Out of the Sandbox products, which was really the thing that I enjoyed in the ecosystem here is working with those themes, playing with those settings, and then being able to sort of record and share the setups and helping out merchants along those lines. So at a certain point, it came time to break away from the agency and move more to some work with doing the video component and doing video guides, that type of thing, which was super successful with Out of the Sandbox. Were my best client while I was out in the freelance world. And then eventually this project management opportunity came up at Out of the Sandbox, and I thought, hey, been around these themes for long enough. I love all of the people that work here, all of the people that use these products as well. So count me in. And so it's been an excellent 1-year adventure so far in project managing with Out of the Sandbox.
Very cool. And for people who don't know, what is Out of the Sandbox? Why are we here?
Sure thing. So we are a designer and developer of some of the most popular Shopify themes on the ecosystem. So started out with the Mobilia and the responsive theme way back when, being some of the first themes that had the ability to be shown on mobile devices and that were suitable for all various screen widths and screen sizes. Then eventually moving on to the Retina theme, which was, again, designed for Retina displays, as Retina displays were becoming popular at the time. Our next release after that was the Parallax theme, taking advantage of the Parallax scrolling effect to create a more contemporary design for home pages and various internal pages. Then we swung for the fences with our Turbo release, so a theme that would be a catch-all for all of the features and benefits that our merchants were writing into support requesting. This would be the sort of flagship product to add all of those things to, but then also focus on first theme to be using responsive images and lazy loading as a way of speeding up page load times. There's the ludicrous mode page preloading feature to sort of predict where the user is about to go before and serves up that content a little bit earlier to make for a snappier experience. As time went on, though, the Turbo theme has become even more of a sort of a prototyping tool. The number of agencies that use the theme as a starting block before they start to talk to their clients about, hey, what are you looking for in the functionality and in the appearance of your theme? Well, they start with Turbo and then start to make whatever customizations are necessary using that strong flagship product as a base.
Very
then,
good.
most recently, our Artisan theme, which was designed originally as a theme that would be suitable for both products and services for the number of service purveyors that are now moving into e-commerce. But as the product took shape and as it's developed, it's become a stated design so that it really got its own particular look. It has this amazing shapes effect that can be added to various sections of the homepage that I hope we might be able to get a quick chance to look at some point here in our talk. But besides that, Artisan has really come to its name in becoming this design product as opposed to a product that was focusing on particular features or on performance. This is about the beautiful appearance of Artisan. So that's our catalog of 6 now. We keep the themes updated with new features all the time, trying to keep tabs on, say, if one of the browsers or YouTube is changing an aspect, and we've got some new issues to jump on as well. So we've got part of our team taking care of that. We've got part of our team taking care of support. We've got part of our team doing our design components for everything new. And I'm looking forward to a new theme sometime in 2019. That's what we do, Kurt. I'd say that that's a good little package of what the
covers
Sandbox picture is.
Yeah, so when we, about 4 or 5 years ago, I said, let's only do Shopify exclusively. And we were just doing whatever theme looked decent. We were going through the Shopify theme store, whatever fit the brand. And very quickly, Out of the Sandbox themes kept coming up over and over. And especially after Whipping Post, which ran on Retina years ago, became noteworthy. I think they won an award or something, but that kept coming up as an example of themes people loved. So we used it, and at that time, even then, I'm like, wow, this thing's very flexible. It's got a lot of options, works for big inventories, works for smaller inventories, and that was where it got on my radar. And then Parallax came out. I said, oh, wow, this is cool. And we, one of our early big wins was working with Rolex watch strap replacement company Everest bands. We put them on Parallax, still on Parallax today, still successful with it. Doesn't look dated at all, looks great. And it was nice because we said, man, we quickly discovered these themes are not made alike. Some themes are, the code looks like it got run through a wood chipper. I mean, it's just brutal. And we discovered, all right, let's stick to stuff made by quality developers. And Out of the Sandbox was one of those that emerged. And then by the time Turbo came out, I was like, performance is important, but I wasn't too excited. And then I played with it, and I said, man, this thing's got a lot of features. And then it got updated. It got even more features and templates. And very quickly, starting 2 years ago, that became the theme we used almost exclusively for store and theme setups. And the only, there'd be a handful of exceptions where we'd build a custom theme. But that was the one we used over 90% of the time. Because to me, and I told you this when we met in New York, was I do not, like Turbo, despite its namesake, I don't think about it for performance at all. To me, it is a rapid prototyping tool that lets you rapidly build a store. Because I could give you, and clients are like, sometimes will say, well, I don't know about a theme. I don't want it to look like other stores. I said, I'll send you 10 examples of stores. Tell me which theme you like. And then, of course, the catch is all 10 use the exact same theme. All 10 Turbo. So that's always a fun trick to demonstrate the flexibility of it. Okay. So we have thoroughly established my love of Turbo. I had one follow-up question. What's the team at Out of the Sandbox? Is it remote? How big is it? What's going on over there? Are you hiring?
We are indeed on the hunt for a front-end developer. If you happen to know any, by all means, we're collecting those resumes, getting them all squared away. We have 21 people, I believe, a mixture of full-time and contract employees, but there is no office. We are indeed all remote. We have a good handful of people in Toronto, Ontario, There's a handful of people up here with me in Ottawa, Ontario. Where else are people? Is someone in Chicago? Is someone in the United Kingdom? Brad, our fearless leader, is in Australia. Anne has joined him there right now. Actually, they're at the Melbourne Pursuit, which is one of the big pursuit days down under. So yeah, that's about the location and size of our team here. We are all over the place and happy to be so.
Very cool. Okay. I want one of my favorite app features is not, or theme features is not a theme, it's an app. It is Out of the Sandbox's theme updater. So previously, without the theme updater, if you had a theme, you get an email, oh, the theme's updated. And the way to update it was you uploaded the new theme and you went through the setup all over again and the customizations. It basically meant updating a theme was unrealistic or impossible in many cases. And typically we just tell people, unless there's a feature that's going to make or break your store, don't even bother. Just wait until you're going to redo it entirely. The app updater came out, and I said, there's no way this thing works. There's just flat out no way. And I ran it on a site, and oh my gosh, it just worked like magic. What? How is this possible? I'm like, that's a fluke. I still didn't believe it. I saw it with my own eyes. I'm like, no. And then I went and previewed it. Oh my gosh, it worked. And then I did another one, and it said, yay, we did it. And here's the one file you got to update yourself. It's great. And I just went, ran it through a free online diff tool. Oh, here's the difference. Swapped it out. So theme update done, 15, 30 minutes easily. It's fantastic. The one, I noticed there is a pro version for it. And we were having this discussion this morning in the office. What the heck's the difference on the pro version versus the free app updater?
Sure thing. The main feature of the Pro plan that would set it apart from the free plan would be the difference checker component. So just as you were describing your experience there, that when the app did produce a report saying that there was some of the templates where code customizations were not carried over automatically, that happens because it would cause a conflict. It would be sort of a risky change to be making. So instead we inform the merchant or the developer that that's one change that has not occurred. And this is the file that you need to take a look at. The Pro plan gives you that even pointing out what between that altered file and the original file of that same version of the theme. So then that way it makes it a lot easier for especially a developer that might be coming in later in a project or later in a build that's looking to do that update. They can sort of take a look at what the differences are automatically, all sort of in one page of all the differences between the altered theme and the original theme, so they can take an inventory of what changes do need to be applied automatically. Besides that, we also have the email notification component that will notify our Out of the Sandbox customers who didn't purchase from the Shopify theme store, but from our own site. It will notify them about the theme updates. Additionally, language locale files are carried over as well with the Pro plan, which are often important for people who have made alterations to the various text strings on the theme.
Oh, right. So it's an easy way to modify your theme. Like one of my recommendations is, hey, go change the checkout button's label to proceed to checkout. So the Pro plan, it'll do that automatically. I also did not realize that
correct.
Carried over, so good to know.
But we stand by the free feature set wholeheartedly as far as how it's able to carry over the customizations, how it's able to copy the customized settings. That part is generally a home run, even for highly customized stores. This settings component will successfully be transferred over for a very high success rate on that. For the code modifications, we love it whenever it's CSS changes at the bottom of the style sheet. Those are super easy for the app to carry over. But if there's changes,
let me back up there. One of my questions for you that I wrote down and wanted to ask was, what are best practices for customizing themes to make this thing work as easily as possible? So it sounds like you've already jumped into that. Run me through some of those.
Sure. So I guess that first low-hanging fruit would be to put the any CSS changes at the bottom of the style sheet. Indeed, over any that were previously stated, but instead of making those changes within the style sheet itself. For instance, if there was something that a setting is presently controlling, to go in and remove that and put in a specific CSS rule instead is maybe not the best practice for making customizations in general, not even just for the use of the app, but just being able to track what customizations have been made. On all of the liquid files that you'll find on a Shopify theme, there's this older versions capability. There's this ability to sort of revert to previous versions. Unfortunately, that does not exist in CSS files. It does not exist in the style sheet. So if you have made a change to the style sheet, it's sort of lost in history. How are you going to be able to keep track of what changes have been made? There's no better way than having all of those changes sort of applied to the bottom of the style sheet, and whoever makes those changes to put their name on it too, so you know who to follow up with whenever something might need an update. So that's a practice that we see a bit, and he helps the theme updater as far as transferring over those changes.
Okay.
As far as making any changes to, other drastic changes, the JS files are generally ones that you wouldn't want to be injecting any changes into. Somewhere that is often a challenge for the app is the theme.liquid file. And it's whenever an app is installed, often there will be an include snippet injected into the theme.liquid file. Depending on where it is in the theme.liquid file, it could be risky. It could cause a conflict for the app to try to carry that over automatically. So that's some of the manual ones where you can sort of just add that snippet in again, reinstall that app if necessary, so that it's running again without running the risk of sort of just doing a copying of that code to the new version with the theme updater.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things I tell people is, hey, when you're going to do an update, make sure, or if you're going to install a new app, duplicate your theme, install the app, and then that way if you install it and it doesn't work out, or because oftentimes you'll know within an hour of using an app whether you want to keep it. It makes it super easy to go back and undo the code changes, because what most merchants don't know about Shopify is, number one, there's no backups. Unless you use an app like Rewind, which I like a lot, and they have a free plan, so go get Rewind. But I digress. And we have several apps, 3 apps, and Shopify does an interesting thing. The moment a merchant clicks uninstall, step 1 is they sever the app's connection to your store. And this is to protect you so that you can't have a bad actor, a malicious app developer, do something that might wreck your store, hold you hostage. So we actually can't uninstall code. So that uninstall really is a misnomer. So that's why I like if you're going to trial an app, it's just one easy extra step. Duplicate that theme, then install the app. That will save you from all that cruft.
On that note, Kurt, whenever we process an update with the theme updater app, that new version is added as this whole separate theme published on the themes panel. So it's not like it's going to affect the live site, which is often a concern whenever people see that they either need to update or want to update, that their live site will somehow be affected by running the app. But it isn't. Instead, it's added as an unpublished theme, so the merchant can go and check it out, and take a look at the new features, configure the new settings if there happen to be new settings in the new version, and get sort of cozy with it before flicking the switch to make it go live.
Cool. Okay. I want to, we've got some questions. We have some people posting their own Out of the Sandbox themes, their sites using Out of the Sandbox themes in the comments. I would love to go over those with you, see if they're overlooking some features, see if they have easy wins, because there's so much to it, you can miss stuff. But first, on that note, run me through a couple of the most overlooked features in Turbo, the stuff that's like, there's those features that like you love, you obsessed over, the team is so proud of, and then like people miss it, they don't use it, and it's always frustrating.
You caught me, because what's front of mind right now is we just released Turbo 4 this week, which has a handful of new features that I'm particularly excited about. So I figure that those are ones that no Turbo users have really leveraged quite yet, unless they've done it within the last 48 hours. So those are the ones that would be really front of mind for me, and they're both related to the cart page, the cart experience. We now have the ability we've added the ability to add a row of, to add a section of a featured collection to the cart page. And this is sort of you may also be interested in a cross-selling technique. Now, it's not related to whatever products have been added to the cart, like a lot of app functionalities can accomplish, but this is instead of a simpler way of doing that with just picking whatever collection you would like to feature on the cart page as sort of a last stop before reaching the checkout, giving the shopper another opportunity. Especially if you have, like I'm thinking of shops that have fewer products or have like one featured product along with cases, accessories, all the things that need to go with that product. Well, to have that main product featured on the home page in one of those featured product sections where you get a nice detail, you can add to the cart right from the home page, then head to the cart page where you then see, are you also interested in, you've got the case, you've got the accessory, you've got the carry bag. I think that that's a home run, and really, really looking forward to seeing what merchants do with it without needing to reach out to an app. And we love apps. Like, the app functionalities that are out there are widespread. We've partnered up with some developers of apps as well. But what we really try to do with the Turbo theme is, if there's a possibility to add in some of that functionality that you would usually go out to an app for, we're going to try to add that in. We've done that with our predictive search feature. We've done that with...
That was one of those early things that I was like, I need to update Turbo because we need this predictive search. I check the change log when it comes out. I go, all right, what's the killer feature here? And where the one for Turbo, like, predictive search was a big one for me. I saw in Turbo 4, you can now have an option to add a lock icon to the checkout to imply, hey, this is secure. I'm like, that's such an easy win. But to write that in CSS, it's kind of a pain. Like, it's 30 minutes of work to get that thing styled right. So to see that add as a feature, I'm like, oh, sweet. Now just one click, it's on. I love
and it's work for you. For the merchant, it would be actually trying to seek out somebody who can design and develop that. So that was a big takeaway from, like you mentioned, we saw each other in New York at that Pursuit conference. There was a great discussion from a representative of PayPal who talked about how adding a lock icon to your checkout button is a home run for conversion. And he had statistics from various devices of what the lock icon can do for improving conversions. And that was all I needed to see to recommend that this get added to the theme. So it's awesome to see that that's now, it's an optional setting. It's something you can definitely disable if you'd like to remove that lock icon. But to have that now as a part of that checkout process, as a part of the cart process, where we're sort of thinking more along the lines of, like, well, what helps convert? What helps increase the value of an order, or the value of one checkout cart kind of thing? And that's probably what I'm most excited about with the Turbo 4 release, is how the cart page is going to help. It's going to help merchants meet some higher goals.
So with these releases, with these updates, is there like a regular calendar you shoot for, or is it just, hey, we've got, ideas and feature requests that come in, and these are what are going to go on the roadmap. We implement them, and it gets pushed out, which is fine. Or is there do you have, like a strict schedule? Like our podcast, it's every Tuesday, no matter what. Is there something like that for you?
Sure, I try to be as strict with the schedule as I can, but as things go, it's between that and the squeaky wheel gets the grease, I suppose. A lot of the times it is coming from merchant requests. Whenever we see sort of great ideas, a number of sort of marketable ideas lining up in a particular project, then it seems like it's sort of hot to trot for an update. Leading into Black Friday, the hot time of the year, we wanted to make sure that we had a refreshed version of our most recent theme, Artisan, which has a number of new features and design elements added to it, and we wanted to make sure that we had a freshed up version of Turbo as well, given that it is as popular as it is. But yeah, I'd say that we've got a regular schedule for improving the theme when it comes to technical aspects, whether it's reducing our technical debt or addressing edge case bugs. These sort of things are indeed scheduled. We set a release that actually bumps up the first version number. Those don't happen quite as often, and we do try to be selective so that they've got really neat features, things that are going to be obviously noticed by the merchant whenever they go to configure these new features, but something that will impact the shopper's experience as well. So those types of changes make it into our larger releases, which don't happen quite as often. I'd say, yeah, Turbo 3 was in the first quarter of this year. So it's, and even that is a fairly short amount of time between major releases of Turbo, but we had these great features just sort of waiting in the wings. So we're like, no, let's get those out there to the public before giving sort of Mobilia a refresh, which will be happening as well. But
an update, huh?
Well, we do want to keep all of our catalog sort of up to date with not the same feature set. Turbo will always have a more advanced feature set, But the themes that are available on the theme store do indeed have different designs, but we do aim to have them to have very similar feature sets. It's a issue on our support department that somebody sees something in Mobilia and they want it in responsive, and we don't really have a good reason for not providing that. So those are the types of improvements that we would be looking to make to the back catalog, for lack of a better term, for the fans of the old stuff, right?
Yeah, well, and it's legacy, and it's people are going, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you've got a store that converts at 5% on Mobilia, why would you want to mess with that kind of thing? So that it's understandable. Okay, I could pick your brain all day about this stuff. I would love to see what you consider best-in-class examples of live sites using Turbo, or I'm a big fan of Artisan. I've done a client store that I love using Artisan. I did my wife's store in Artisan. I love that theme a lot. I know we're very focused on Turbo, but Artisan's cool too. But yeah, I'm sure you have examples where you're like, these are the best. Could we see some of those? Would you mind sharing your screen?
Absolutely, yeah.
Drive.
And yeah, I'll share my screen here in a moment. One sec here. Okay, I believe I'm sharing my screen now.
I don't think you are.
No?
I see just you. There it goes. That worked.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, two larger brands that we are pretty excited about here. We've got Ginny Case. This is a product page we're looking at here. And I mean, I can tell you just from thin slicing the appearance of it that there have been a number of customizations made to it. But as we were saying, like, Turbo is this great starting block for whatever additional customizations you're looking to make. But this is, they do obviously cell phone cases here, which I really should have become one of their customers before my disastrous accident this weekend where I dropped my new phone on the ground.
I had an iPhone 7 Plus for years.
But next time, but here...
never broke it. And I just dropped my iPhone 10 2 months after getting it. Cracked it. Terrible. All right.
Yeah, mine's also they're too big and round. They're slippery. I could go all day on.
Why are they so slick?
So here we have this pop-up. I can probably tell you is indeed a third-party application just from the appearance of it. And that is, I mean, they convert. I'm sure that Kurt could probably speak to that to a certain degree. Whenever Out of the Sandbox colleagues go to take a look at themes, especially if we're servicing a theme, the pop-ups often become a little bit annoying, but as part of the experience, if that's working for conversions, then I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Those stats are already out there, kind of thing. For even people who get annoyed by pop-ups, it seems that they are a great tool for collecting email addresses to work into an email campaign. But here we have this is a mega menu here.
Featuring mega menu. That was another killer feature where I'm like, oh, gotta update Turbo because I love them.
We really like how it's configured as well. Like, it's configured using the content blocks that Shopify has in the editor that allow for really easy sort of clicking and dragging to move elements of the menu around and sort of give you the option of having images in multiple columns of the menu, having this menu go up to 5 columns, I believe, with menus in each one of them. So highly, highly flexible to create the robust menu that merchants are looking for. Obviously, hero image. This is a text with image overlay section. We've got sort of the logo bar here. This one might be a custom featured links with the overlay here. And then, of course, a featured collection right there on the homepage. So they have not leveraged the quick shop.
I go back and forth on quick
to a nice
Quick View is one of the things I tell people they should test because I don't know that it depends on the product category. You know, like if you're selling something inexpensive and with huge catalog like body jewelry, Quick View is great. But for smaller catalogs where it's like I need to know more to make a purchase decision, I think there could be benefit to turning it off. But one of the things you got to test, it's going to depend on the audience in the store.
Totally. The reason that I make brief mention of it, in case he's watching, there was a question in the Facebook post about adding an add to cart button to the collection page. And we don't have that capability right now with the Turbo theme to have an actual Add to Cart button appear sort of below the thumbnail. So the easiest way to, or the analogous way of doing that would be to access the Quick Shop, and right there you would have both the dynamic payment button, the Buy Now button, and you'd have the Add to Cart button to serve that way. Compared to Artisan, which does indeed now have a Quick Shop that opens directly below the thumbnail, which sort of presents an Add to Cart button right there on the thumbnail. Anyway, that's Ginny Case. This is one of the more robust product pages that I believe is using the product.details template, and this might answer another one of those questions that was in the comments on Facebook about creating other page templates or more robust product templates that have more information, more images in the description. Well, our product.details template is designed to allow for a great amount of flexibility in this area by adding sort of banner images. Very similar to many of the sections that you would find in the homepage settings are content blocks that can be added to this product.details template. And similarly, we have the page.details template that allows for almost creating another homepage, but as an internal page. So you'd have a homepage you could lead to sort of an about page. And what's on that about page could be those same image with text overlay style sections, a row of featured products, all types of different image and text arrangements, and that can all be added in succession. And then so you can click and drag to move all of those things around with the editor. So we're super stoked about those templates here. Sorry, back on track with some of our best in class. Here is Zero UV, which is a sunglasses shop here, and they do indeed have this quick view available. So here we have pretty much the full description appearing in a tabbed layout, which is something that can provide
I see they've got dynamic checkout buttons enabled, which were conspicuously absent from the other store, and probably like the #1 feature overall. I see people not implementing either because they don't know about it or they're skeptical of it. It's so cool, especially on mobile with Apple or Google Pay.
Absolutely, and to speak to that feature, some of the features in our themes come from our own ingenuity. Some of them come from the suggestions that we get on support. Well, the dynamic payment button came from the top. This was a Shopify requirement for all themes to have support for the dynamic payment buttons, and we could not be happier about that. They pretty much served us up with the instructions on how this would be implemented, the evidence that this was something everybody wanted, and sure enough, added it to the themes to great accolades. People are really, really happy with that streamlined process to get that product into the checkout. And of course, just interacting with the thumbnail would lead you to the full page, which doesn't have a ton of additional information from the quick view, just sort of set up in a different format here. Awesome row of related items. So yeah, these shops have been around for a little while. This one appears to even be using some of the typography settings that would be associated with our Soul preset. And for anybody that's sort of starting out with a Turbo theme, I think that that's a great suggestion, is to go through our demo shops. Each one of our demo shops is also reflected as a preset in the theme, where you can sort of select that preset and have all of your typography and color settings match that demo. And that's a really great jumping off point to have your Turbo theme sort of start within the areas of one of our 6 demos, and then from there you would configure it with your own high quality photography. So this one has the same typography as our Soul demo here, which is great to look at. And yeah, similar homepage breakdown where you've got a number of various sections that sort of appear with animation styles. Yeah, I think they've done a great job. Can't speak to this enough this is for all of our themes, but Turbo does a great job of it as well, is that it's really high quality photography that brings these shops to life. An expression I often use is that the theme is yours to lose, that it's already set up in a fantastic way as far as the UX goes, as far as the settings are concerned, and now it's up to the merchant to fill it in with the best content and the best photography that they have access to, and that's what makes these things a a home run as far as I'm concerned, from a visual perspective. Here is one that we found is using our shapes feature. This is Artisan, actually. I just have two quick Artisan examples here. Is the contract.shop. Quite understated, but I just think that that is one of the ways that this feature shines. I'm not sure if you can see here, but there's this hexagon shape with a very light opacity just to the left here, just to the right.
Sadly, I think the video compression kills it, but there's one down in which best describes you that you can see it.
Sure thing, and I can attest that they are even doing a bit of a parallax scrolling style as well. Cool. We're really keen on those shapes. Got another example here. This one might hit close to home.
There we go.
This is WWW, and using, of course, the stars shape, the connection between the stars and your Disney experience. I think that's another home run. But the people using Artisan that are really getting a lot of leverage out of our shapes feature often have shapes involved in some of their other design elements, whether it's their logo or in some of their banners. They've got these shapes appearing, and then having these sort of understated parallax scrolling shapes in the background really tie it all together. And that's something that's done without consulting with a designer, without needing to contract somebody. These things are already in place. And now with our new shapes directory, we've got seasonal shapes. We've got upwards of 100 shapes now that can be configured. Yeah, so I think I've got that available here real quick. Is the shapes library. So this is our Phoenix demo now that already has some of the new shapes in it. But here it is behind the scenes. This is where we would be configuring the sections for this Phoenix demo. And in the shapes area here, you can now access our shapes directory. Wow. So instead of using a shape from a drop-down, we've got these sort of short codes that you would enter instead. And again, they can be applied to each section independently. And we are indeed taking requests. So I'm not sure if you've heard that from too many theme developers, but if you've got a shape that you think would work well with your shop, well, it's a great idea to send in a note about that, and we will add it to our feature requests list for a subsequent update to the Artisan theme and include it here in the shapes directory. So hopefully that's exciting news for some people here. And if you're,
for me.
Well, great, and you can go and reconfigure all your pumpkins to gifts now. Now that we are moving out of one season and into the next. But yeah, super excited about the shapes directory here and how that can add additional design flexibility to the homepage elements of the Artisan theme.
Very cool.
I have some other great example shops here. This one is neither Turbo nor Artisan. This is the Retina theme, which we still see widespread everywhere. I mean, I took a break from work for a few minutes a week ago to buy some new winter tires, and the first site I landed on was running Retina. I cannot get away from these themes, it seems. But yeah, this is a site that sells patterns for people who make clothing, and just think that they've done a great job at configuring and at sort of, I'm not sure if you see their logo here, but how the typography settings work in with that logo. It's extremely visually pleasing. And then here's a pop-up. I can attest this is indeed a third-party pop-up. Not one of my faves, but that's all right. So we've got, yeah, there's a Retina example there that super stoked about that does indeed have some like wild color decisions here. Like this is not something you would see in any of our demos, but we're just so excited whenever we see someone use the theme in a way that we hadn't thought of that is totally possible with the built-in settings without needing to reach out and get additional support on that. So yeah, I could go all day on other great examples here, but I would say that my main message would be photography, your product images and your photography. Putting that into the theme that's already built with your success in mind is really what we're trying to do, and the most impressive examples that we see are the ones that have really spent time in obtaining high quality photography and in working on their content.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, let content dictate design.
And the thing about anything being like overlooked settings, it's a good question. I wonder if, Kurt, you might even have more insight into it because you've set up so many shops with Turbo. You've seen so many setups with Turbo, whereas I see all of the features enabled at once in my test shop, and I think that they're all great. But as far as sort of picking and choosing it, it really is going to have to come down to what makes the most sense for your customer and for your product. The size of the catalog is going to determine that as well. But especially Turbo, we think that it's a home run for any size of catalog. I've got tips on how to configure it for a single product to make that product shine, or how to configure it for a multitude of products to make it that it's easy to find the product that you're looking for.
Show us an example.
Sure. Well, I mean, I would have to do it on my own sort of demo shop, but what I would want to point out, for instance, a couple of features that I was talking about earlier. We now have this row of you may be interested in, which can be added here as a configurable content block to the cart page. And that checkout logo.
There it is.
The lock logo appearing on the checkout, so excited about that stuff. But what I wanted to point out here is whenever you're operating a shop that has a large catalog, one of the features that is indeed baked into the theme now is this multi-tag filter.
Whoa.
I've
not actually seen that. I didn't know.
Sure. Now, I am not sure what tags are on these products here. Let me see if I can get lucky with some random... All right, so unfortunately these products have not been tagged yet as far as their color attributes, but just like any multi-tag filter app, as much as we'd love for them to be based on variant names or on vendors or on types, they are all based on tags. Now, there are some tools out there that will sort of scan through your products and add tags that reflect what the variant names are, and add tags that will reflect what the vendor name is, which will then allow...
Power Tools Power Filter, I think, is one that'll do it.
Precisely, and that was the tool that we would recommend for filtering before we had our own feature baked in. So this would be if you had your products already tagged with these items, they would show up there in the sidebar as a configurable content block that could be moved around with the other elements that you add to that sidebar. So I think I might have that running on the Portland demo here. So let me just pull that up real quick. I believe. So a brand new Dubai demo. I'll leave that open just in case we want to revisit it. We're really excited about the new preset happening there. Yeah, my best way to access that is probably right here. So here we go. This is our Portland demo, which is our first demo for the Turbo theme. And I'm just going to jump into the women's apparel. Oh, and we've got a pop-up, of course, my favorite. Just going to jump into the women's apparel here and see that here we have our multi-tag filter set up. So we can filter by multiple attributes at the same time.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
especially for like big collections, big inventories.
Exactly. So that and search, predictive search, or just a robust search feature in general, that's what we hear from larger catalogs, that those are the types of things that they want to see baked into the theme. And we listened. We added that as a sidebar element here. And then our search is indeed the predictive search component here. Let me see if I can exactly. So it will pull up results right away. And then with the option, of course, of heading to the full search results page. And so all of this is available as default, all default features without needing to contract anybody, without needing to search around various apps, compare and contrast various apps, install them, work out whatever conflicts might arise from them. Don't worry about any of that. We'll sort of walk you through it with the settings themselves.
Very good. We've got a handful of questions I'd
Sure.
like to run through with you. And then if there's, should be a little bit of time, let me turn my video back on there. Let's see. Yeah, I'd like to go through this with you, and then we could do a couple a few teardowns, look at a few sites from commenters running Out of the Sandbox themes. So let's see. How do I? There we go. So I have someone who asks, any plans to release further video tutorial guides on Turbo and other Out of the Sandbox themes?
Yes. In fact, we've got a documentation initiative coming up for the Turbo theme to go over every aspect of the theme in detail with video documentation associated with that. What we've realized is that a lot of our documents have been reactive, the questions that we'll often receive on support, and we will create a document that will address that question. When what we want to create is an instruction manual for the theme, something that will go through all of the elements of the theme, comparing them to the demos so that we can demonstrate to our customers how they can obtain the same results that they see in a demo, because we try to keep our demos fairly different from each other to show how flexible the theme is. But if you happen to sort of load up the default theme and you can't figure out how did Out of the Sandbox manage to get that arrangement, that layout, that particular page, well, that instruction manual, our total documentation initiative, which will have fully documented in text and in video, all of these elements. So it's a fairly large initiative, but we are looking to do that for all of our themes, starting with Turbo and starting with the homepage.
Very cool. Are there any plans to allow for tab content on the product page out of the box? I think it does, doesn't it?
So what we have for that is another fun Out of the Sandbox add-on here. This is a Chrome extension called the Content Creator, and within it we've got sort of prepackaged markup, prepackaged HTML markup, where you sort of select it from that from the Content Creator dropdown, and it copies it to your clipboard. Then you can go and paste that into your product description, your page content, wherever it happens to be used. And we've got the tabs set up, available in the Content Creator. What we don't have right now is a setting that would allow for tabs to be enabled on all products. I think that the issue there is that on Shopify, you've got that one product description field. Now there are options with meta fields that could be investigated as well, but that's again sort of an add-on, something that would need to be looked at specifically. So there isn't really a way of separating that content into whatever your tabs would happen to be, and then determining what your tab titles are without getting a little bit specific with the HTML. And so for that, we don't generally provide code changing advice when it comes to changing the theme itself, changing the templates of the theme, but we are definitely on the hook to provide any advice you'd like about adding those tabs to pages, because that markup is, I don't know if it's too specific to our themes, but it does work with our themes specifically. And to sort of walk through how do you add those tab titles, how do you add that tab content, it does. We don't have that on the roadmap right now. If we could think of a sort of a genius way of adding tabs to all products, like if the tabs were to show the same content on all products, that would be an option, but that doesn't seem to be the request. Like that's wouldn't be too popular to have the same description on every product. So
it's doable. It's just not the cleanest implementation, or not. It's not the easiest thing to do it. Like there's a separate configurator, then you paste it in, and then the theme has style support for it.
And then to add the unique content about that product to the particular tab panels. Right. Like what would be the best way to do that? Is that done on the product edit screen on Shopify, or is that somehow worked into the settings? So there's definitely
page content from somewhere else. Does it matter? There's like a whole bunch of ways to do it.
Precisely.
We generally treat it like a tab description is way more complicated than it sounds, because there's so many ways to implement it, and it's going to change on a per store basis. It gets tough to do it as like, hey, here's just the one universal solution. The next question we got is, it sounds like a feature request. Any plans to have the collection filters display horizontally?
It's a good one. I don't see why not. So exactly it. That's exactly it. Is that when we hear an idea like that seems, it seems totally valid, even ones that don't seem totally valid, we will add it as a feature request so that we've got a record that it was requested. Then, as further requests come in, we sort of add a +1, +2, that, okay, this one is becoming popular. This is something that we're hearing a lot about, or this is something that we as a team are also assessing, like, hey, this is a home run here, let's roll with it. And something like that, a horizontal filtering as opposed to having it in the sidebar, and to even have it as a configurable content block that could be moved in relation to where the grid of products is showing. That's not far-fetched at all. So thank you for that one. And if anyone from my team is listening, go ahead and add that to the and we'll see if we get some more requests for a horizontal filter. It was something that we had with a low number of tags that were appearing in our Mobilia theme. They would appear in a horizontal filter historically. But as soon as there would be more than, say, one row of text, like we wouldn't want
messy.
And so then we put it into that into a drop down, and then that way the way it's manifested here in Turbo is into the sidebar.
Someone asked, will there be promo codes? Will there be a sale for Black Friday?
Absolutely there will, yeah. But and then also, Kurt, I know that you sometimes mention at the end of the
podcast 20, save 20%.
That's the one I wanted you to mention, just so that we can, track who was listening and who gets to take advantage of this talk. But for sure, yeah, Black Friday we will have some kind of promotion going here. That's right, Laura? Fantastic.
This is a good question. What's your best-selling theme?
Sorry, Kurt, you just broke up there for a moment. I missed that last thing.
What's your best-selling theme?
Best-selling theme is Turbo.
Definitely. And I love this question. This is a guidance or strategy question. Any tips or insights, things to consider when picking one theme over the other? So the question is like, you've got 6 themes, or if you go in the Shopify theme store, dozens, or if you go to like someplace else, the hundreds or thousands, how do you pick the right one? How do you narrow that down?
Same answer, Turbo.
For me, I mean, until Artisan showed up, the answer was Turbo. Just do it in Turbo because we know it inside out, and it's so flexible that I can make it do whatever I want for any store. And I would say find sites similar to yours. Look through, don't just pick, you look at the demos of the themes, but see if you could find example sites. Like if Out of the Sandbox, there is a support page that says, here's a list of sites using Turbo, and there's examples that you can go through. And if you can find a couple sites that are like, yeah, that's what I want, that's the look, then go with that theme because you already know it'll do what you want, as opposed to the demo's close, and then you bang your head against the wall trying to make it do what you want.
That's a great strategy. I would have to speak to reviews as well, taking a look at the reviews that are out there on themes and trials. I'm pretty sure every theme, even the Turbo theme, offers a trial period for you to take a look at the configuration, how it's set up, and if you're experienced with it. Our Turbo demo is a 14-day guarantee. So that one you sort of purchase it first, and then we would, depending on if you like it or not, if it's working for you, we would do that, which isn't sort of the same process as you'd see on the Shopify theme store, where they do a bit of a different way of trialing themes. But by all means, give them a try. And it's not just how that's going to look through is obviously the golden ticket. It's how is this thing going to end up for the shopper? What's the shopper's experience going to be like? But what's the merchant's experience going to be like configuring it? Like, is it difficult to do? Is it complicated? What is their support going to be like, kind of thing? And if you can get that information, if you can gather that ahead of making that decision, then you can make a fairly well-informed decision, I would imagine.
Here's a question. It's not necessarily from merchants, but I thought it would be a good one for you, being in the project manager role, managing people. Someone asked, what advice would you give to someone looking to pursue Shopify web development as a career? What aspects of website development are most important to pursue in the beginning?
Sure thing. So I don't know enough about development to be dangerous. That's about it. But I would say that HTML, CSS, have some experience with jQuery. Shopify's Liquid code is, I think, fairly get in Liquid by osmosis. But as far as I can tell, Liquid is written in English. It is fairly straightforward.
Liquid's very straightforward.
So as far as any type of technical prowess, it would fall into those 4 categories, I would imagine. But the thing is that this whole ecosystem, everyone that I meet, as far as anybody that's hiring, anybody that's looking to build a team, they are going so instinctually off of how the person is personality-wise. How are they to work with, as opposed to, like, there's a lot of stuff that can be taught, but it's those things that can't be taught as far as communication component, positivity, whatever it is. Like, how does it fit in with your budding corporate culture kind of thing? That is paramount. And then from there, there's all of the training in the world that could be applied after that point.
So, I'd say if you're looking for technical skills, the answer, you just have to be a front-end developer plus Liquid. That's it. And Liquid's not complicated. So you just need to know HTML, CSS, the basics on JavaScript, and then Liquid. Bam, you can now develop Shopify themes. But more importantly is be reliable, be professional, and be able to communicate. Having those business skills, tremendously important. And you'll see that in job postings. It's like, we're looking for reliables on all caps, because everybody's got a horror story about, like, yeah, we hired somebody that disappeared. Okay, I like that.
Just one other thing to add to that, as far as a way in, like how to actually find these opportunities, what we're seeing a lot of are these sort of local events, anything that you can possibly do in real life to get some face time with people that are either entrepreneurs themselves, or they're starting a company in this ecosystem, or they're an established company in this ecosystem. Doing that real life connection has been really valuable for a lot of new folks.
15 minutes in person is worth 150 emails. You just can't beat FaceTime. Next question we see Shopify a lot is talking about VR, AR, and doing 3D product photography, showing 3D models. Do you have any plans on including 3D photos, 360-degree product photography options in the future?
So with that initiative from Shopify, along with a number of their other initiatives, we're in a sense given, marching orders, for lack of a better term, something that we'll need to do to the theme to make it compliant with whatever they're planning on doing with the platform. So for instance, the whole sections settings editor was an idea that Shopify came up with, that we needed to overhaul our themes to allow for that level of configuration. So very similarly, I'm expecting that with the VR and AR initiative, that we will be given, in a sense, this is what the theme will need to do for that. Presently, we don't have any brand spanking new ideas for that ourselves. To stay standard with what Shopify's theme catalog is going to end up doing, and because it's likely going to be a mandate, for lack of a better term, of something that we'll need to do to our themes. So great question, and keep your ear to the ground on what's next with that. I know that before that point we will be encountering the accessibility updates. So there will be a widespread accessibility requirements that the themes will be complying with, and that will be a fairly large set of updates happening to the entire theme ecosystem. But after that, I'm thinking that with the amount of emphasis that they've been putting on AR and VR, that we'll be seeing some interesting across-the-board updates that all themes will be able to enjoy. At that point, we will start to think laterally of, hey, how can we add value to these things? By flexibility is usually our method. How can we make this more flexible? How can we put more power into the merchant's hands with these tools? And that's what we'll be doing whenever AR is a bit more settled.
Moving on to our last question. This speaks to a criticism I hear a lot about Shopify that drives me batty, but it's the blog is plain and not good enough, and I don't like it. And this drives me crazy because I've got like a few examples of sites with just extraordinary blogs on Shopify. I think it is and I really like the layout is nowhere near as important as the content. But regardless, the common criticism that comes up, the question is, any plans to make the blog page more robust, like adding sections to customize it? And I think part of that is does Shopify even support sections and articles?
Not technically, but they do support content blocks. So article.details has been a dream of ours now for a couple of months. So in the same vein as our page.details product.details, a number of various configurable content blocks. To have articles with that same capability is definitely in the cards. The thing with that is that there are a number of, like, you would have more than one article, and each article you may have unique content, and that involves duplicating that template, which does have like a nominal technical aspect to it, as far as copying the template, making a copy of the section, and going over to the article and changing the template that's
being done with shortcodes.
Potentially, so would you? Because then articles could be tagged. Potentially, I think it's how it manifests in the settings editor that you would then.
I threw that out there. I only recently discovered that shortcodes were supported in Shopify themes, working on a large store that used shortcodes. And I think that might be a way around the limitations of like the WYSIWYG editor for a blog and get people like the flexibility that they feel is missing. I suspect. I don't know. Only literally last week was like, oh my God, you can do shortcodes. Okay. Any people have final questions, feel free to put them in there. I said we'd do this for an hour, but I also said we'd do a couple teardowns, and 4 people were nice enough to submit themes. Sean, would you mind sticking around for 15 more minutes?
No problem, Kurt. Absolutely.
All right, let me load up.
And what's involved in a teardown here? Are we going to be not criticizing people's websites?
We'll be criticizing people's websites.
All right.
You make it fun. You'll get it. Just, I think in this case it would be like, all right, what just rattle off. Hey, here's some features you may be overlooking, or perhaps a better way to do that in this theme. And it looks like all 4 are Turbo examples. So let me switch the screen share. If I can figure out how to do that. Yeah, where's overlay? This is. All right, Sean, you got a riff. You got a riff on something.
Well, while I have your attention, definitely check out Turbo 4 as our most recent update. But very recently, we had the Artisan 1.1 update. Now has that quick shop feature. It now has related products involved. It's got that robust shapes library. Just before that, we did an overhaul to our responsive theme, Responsive 7. It now has all of the demo shops have been revamped. There have been a widespread design changes, tweaks to make the layout just contemporary, to make it tighter, to make it just look good on a wide variety of screens. And I think that's really exemplified in the updated demo shops. There's a mega menu now that can be configured for the responsive 17. Not quite the same ability as mega menu, as this is sort of a mega menu that our friends at Shopify said, no problem, we can have that one available on the theme store. So definitely, if you have any of those themes, go check out the updated versions of them. Use the theme updater to get yourself a copy of it added right to your themes panel, and see if you can leverage some of those new features for your own shop. And I think you might have time to configure it and get cozy with it before the big Black Friday rush, so before your big weekend.
Okay, let's grab, I think I got 3 themes here. We're screen sharing. We've got $coffee.co up in front of me. Oh shoot, Sean, you can't see that, can you?
I can't see that right now.
All right. So you will. All right. Just be my hype man. Give me some commentary here. Okay.
Sure.
Looking at $Coffee Co. It's running on Turbo. First thing, easy mistake I see a lot of people make. You're using the header message bar, so it says limited time, free shipping. But you can add a link to that. Like right now when I click on it, it doesn't do anything. So it's simple, like send it to /collection/all, or send it to your bestseller. Send it somewhere when they click on it, or add a call to action to it, like shop bestsellers, shop featured. That's an easy win. And then we've got in Turbo, it'll let you adjust your the positioning of menus and the logo to get the padding right. It'll let you adjust the top padding. You could mess with that to get your logo and the main menu navigation onto the same line. It'd have a nice effect to it. And then in your navigation, your main menu navigation, you've given the least attention to the most important thing. shop is the second thing in the menu, not the first. And we've got everything buried in here. And then we've got about, FAQ, contact, order tracking. Well, Turbo has a top menu next to, in the upper left, next to that mail icon. You can add a menu up there called top menu. That's where you want to put the secondary stuff. That about, I would just say about, FAQ, where's my order, contact. Put that up there. And then your main menu could just be this shop drop down. So you get rid of that entirely, and it could be French press, cold brew, pour over, coffee grinders. So now as soon as I land on the site, boom, I've got all my stuff right there. Like if we go to Amazon right now, the entire main menu, all the primary menus are going to be related to shopping. And then all this other garbage, like about us, investor, like that's all in the footer. So it's an e-commerce store. Let's focus on shopping. I love...
To speak to that for a second, Kurt, sometimes we see a home link being included in the main menu. Whereas we're pretty much set that people know to click the logo. You can click the logo, get back to the home page, save yourself a little bit of main menu real estate, and use the logo as your home link.
We've got, I love the headline they used. Australians spend an average of $1,200 a year on barista-made coffee. We think you could do better. Learn more, start brewing. I think that's great. You're agitating the pain. That's great. And then the image is just a phenomenal hero image. I think the only improvement you could make here is rather like learn more, start brewing are a little confusing. Like I would just have a single button say get started, start saving. So like really go double down on that pain. This is lovely. This is a great example of the featured images, featured promotions that Turbo uses, pour over, French press, cold brew. Again, great images, really leading with phenomenal images. Helps. The theme can only be as good as the content. And then we got this thing like be your own barista, all you need. I would just drop that section entirely. So it goes like agitate the pain, our 3 shop sections, which look great, and then pour over, dripper paperless. Though we're featuring a sold-out product. Oh, no. We've got some more featured products on here. Looks great. I might say if we're going to do 3 like that, instead of doing the alternating left-right featured products, just do a featured collection and say, like, trending now. Or, like, these go together. I would sell this as a kit, right? Like, I need the dripper, I need the kettle, I need the scale. Sell a kit, and that's what your get started is. And then lastly, don't forget to set, the Instagram widget looks a bit broken. Either I have Instagram blocked in my host file, maybe not, I don't know. Down here, break out this navigation menu, like rather than just have the single links. I would break it out to like one that says shop, and then we've got our categories, and then one called support, and then one called info. And we got 3 nice menus, and divide up the links accordingly. So like info could be return, privacy, terms of service. About would be like FAQ, contact, shipping and delivery, and then shop, obviously there's a shop menu. And then Turbo will also let you add the newsletter into this section, into this, you can add newsletters in one of these section blocks. If you wanted to, you could add a background image to this newsletter opt-in. I think it'd make it look really nice. Okay, I think that's all good advice. Should help you. Let me dive into the next one. BTR Sports looks good. I like that. Turbo recommends a really tall hero image. You don't have to stick to the heights they give you. Sometimes doing a half width like this banner can have a very nice effect, because now we could see the featured promos again implemented nicely. And I would say the other site, Dollar Coffee, did a really great job with the featured promos. Try that here. Add a description. Make this a button. I think it would look really nice. I love that you use this reviews widget here. We've got social proof right on the site. The featured videos, I don't think is doing you any favors in that, like, there's no context to it. We just have 2 videos. So I'd rather have a single video that says, like, learn about our best-selling glow-in-the-dark high-vis jacket. Like, add some context to it and go with a single video as opposed to 2. I love that you've got the featured products here. If you have more than this, show more. Why not? Show 10, 15 products, and instead of featured products, say trending now, and do it like a collection sorted by bestsellers. And then this footer is just set up phenomenally well. my recommendation for Dollar Coffee. This is what I was looking for, a footer like this. It's a really great job. Let's dive into the collection. I want to see what that looks like. That's a good looking collection. It's taking a moment to load. Yeah, that looks great. Yeah, I wouldn't, in this collection, you could, if you wanted to jazz it up, you could add a featured image and have that show as a hero. That would look cool. I would consider disabling the quick view and instead having it show the second product image. I like that a lot. And then if we click through, especially, let's click through to our product page. Love that you include the size guide link. Anytime you're selling clothing, that's going to be the big objection. I love that you're using my app. I see ship timer on here. Add some urgency to the purchase. Here's a great example. Someone had asked about product tab descriptions. You're doing it phenomenally well here. That looks great. My sole recommendation for the product page would be turn off social sharing. I bet if you heat map this, out of 2,000 visits, no one would ever click on these. That would be my only recommendation there. And what happens if I add to basket? Oh my gosh, takes me straight to the cart page. I love it. And we've got pay by. This is all very clever, really well done. You've definitely been taking notes on the stuff I recommend. My only recommendation would be turn off order notes if you don't need it. If there's a compelling reason to keep it, sure. But if not, I find it just could confuse people, so I would get rid of it. And now let's look at our third and final store, curated by dogs. Loaded up, big image of a pug. Check it out, Sean, curatedbydogs.com. And here again, we see, I love, you've got your phone number in the upper left. Cool. The phone number is held, it adds trust. I see Sean just saw the dog. Having that phone number says, I'm available, it adds trust. It's nice. You could, just as we discussed now, you could safely get rid of that home link in your main menu. And then under apparel, you've used the mega menu, I think, or this might be the drop down set up with just set to horizontal. Try the mega menu, and then you can add an image for each of these. So women's, men's, kids, and that's very engaging. But otherwise, this menu is really great. I love we got a single call to action. This is set up very nicely. We've got a background image on our subscription, our newsletter opt-in. Fabulous. Let's see. This is all great. I would say in your newsletter, you could add some or the footer, you could add some balance to it by add a fourth column, make it the first thing, and put your logo in there. That would just give it some nice symmetry and balance. And see about if you can. You got a lot of stuff on the homepage, but I don't see social proof. So if we had like as seen on, like the press logos that Turbo supports as a section, or reviews like the Yacht Po carousel we saw on another store, I think that would be a nice touch. But otherwise, really quite good. Let's dive in. And Sean, do you have any thoughts since you could see this one?
I mean, I've got a soft place in my heart for dogs, so I'm obviously a big fan here. But no, I couldn't agree more with the configuration of the homepage here. That hero image is a total home run. As far as the social proof component that you mentioned, that logo list would be a good way to go. And I can't imagine that a product or a site like this hasn't been mentioned somewhere. And so to collect some of those hot references and for them here on the homepage would be great for that. But your point about the footer, to have that content, that we woof you paragraph there, I think it's great to sort of keep that content visible, but not like sort of relegated to its own page. So I think it's really neat to have it there in the footer. But like you said, as far as the balance and just to add a bit of a visual element to the footer, to have the logo show up in there, totally agree with that.
I skipped ahead to the collection page. Looks great. Went to a product page. Also looks good. Again, only recommendation, turn off social share because I doubt it's used. And then when I click add to cart, it pops open the mini cart. I would say try having it go to the cart page, as it can eliminate a step and it kind of acts as a landing page. Though this is fine too. And I see you've got the lock icon on the checkout. Great. That means you're running Turbo 4. Good for you. And if I click checkout, let's see how this looks. It is, wonderful. You have mostly styled the checkout to match which I love. I would say update the color on your primary. Update this color for like the continue button to match the site, so it's cohesive. Upload your logo, even if it's just that text logo from Turbo. Take a screenshot of it, and that way the whole thing matches. And then let's see if you've got address autocomplete turned on. Yes, fabulous, good work. Okay, that's the end of that for me. All right, Sean, any closing thoughts?
You mean about any of those shops or just in general?
In general.
Well, I've got a couple of questions for you just about a couple of things that you just mentioned, mostly because I'm curious about it. As far as the social icons on the product page, you're saying that you aren't seeing these being used.
When we heat map them, it would be like 2,000 out of 2,000 views, you get one.
Fair enough. And then I'm hearing full cart page over mini cart seems to be a preference.
Yes. And I think it's going to depend on the store a little bit, in that if you've got, it's a store where you make like a lot of purchases versus, or a lot of items in one order versus like a single thing. I find it just moves them along in the process. So we'll typically see a higher reach checkout percentage when we send them to the cart page, as opposed to like, page mini cart, because it closes and whereas the cart acts like its own landing page because it's much, it's very streamlined.
And sure thing. I mean, with the improvements we've just made to the cart page as well, I can't be a big enough.
It's very attractive.
Page. But I mean, we hear a lot of requests for Ajax carts and for improvements to the sliding e-cart style. But no valuable info to know. Just as far as like it's really the product, the type of shop that would define what type of cart that you should have, and
and it's going to be one of those things like you want to test it, like try it for a week, then try it the other way for a week, and see and look at as your KPI, look at your reach checkout percentage, see how that changes. And I would suspect for many store, like either it won't make a difference, or like if it's a store where people mainly purchase one product, you'll probably see just the cart page perform better. Anything else?
Sure thing. If anyone asks for advice on...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, if anyone asks for advice on tightening up the product page as far as getting sort of more out of the layout, to have those social icons turned off unless they've got really socially active product, then that's great advice. Good to know.
Cool.
But that's it for me. Yeah, I am so happy that you took the time here, and that we how'd the audience look? I can't see what the viewership numbers are here on my end, but hopefully some people got some value out of our talk here.
Well, we got a few. So when I will post this around, we'll put it on YouTube. We'll share the video so people have it. And lastly, if you're excited about Turbo, you want to go try it, use code podcast20, get 20% off the purchase price of Turbo. Or I guess you could also try your luck, wait and see till Black Friday, see what happens. But yes, Sean, thank you so much for joining us.
It was my pleasure.
And we will wrap it up there. Enjoy your day. I hope everybody has a great, hugely successful Black Friday. I want your hands to hurt from counting your money afterwards.